Welcome to the Imba community meeting. It's bi-weekly, as you can see from the notes.
Yes.
And yeah, so we have a couple of topics. I tried asking you if, Sindre, if you wanted to change up the topics, or does this look okay?
Yeah, I think it looks okay. Yeah.
So the one thing I was wondering about was the Discord. So you created one and Eric Tirado created one. So which one should we use? Is it the one Eric?
I think we're using the one I created.
Okay.
Initially, I just created it because I wanted to chat with Alteo.
Nice.
Using voice. But it is much better than Gitter. But as long as we have both, it's kind of difficult because you end up not being... when you don't have a single chat, then you end up not using any of them, essentially. So if we choose to move to Discord, we need to truly move. So I'm not sure what your ideas is about this, or what your opinion is.
Yeah, so I think this is something Eric experienced, like competing things.
Yeah.
And people end up using what's easiest. I think we're gonna have a divided usage. So maybe it is better initially to just have one place. Discord is a free tool, free as in you don't pay anything for it.
Yeah.
And you can download multiple clients.
Yeah.
So I think it's a nice tool, and also it has voice. So you can streamer mode, like maybe it's possible to use that in combination with Zoom, or maybe drop Zoom altogether, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I think it's better than Gitter, definitely. I've been using it for Jamstack related things before, and other communities, Scrimba related topics.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like it. I think it's a good tool.
Yeah, I think so too. And the native clients are really nice. And to me, it's basically just Slack done right. The whole multi community handling, how we have one account for everything.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I guess Scrimba is probably going to move to Discord in the future for courses and stuff.
I don't know. I was thinking maybe something self-hosted could also be interesting, just to explore it.
Yeah.
So, but Discord is definitely a good tool.
Yeah. So I think we should just move to Discord.
Yeah.
And then the question becomes, how do we do that efficiently and get people over there, get people to actually start using it? I have no overview of how many people are using the Gitter desktop client, or just going to the web page, or...
Yeah, so I really think the Gitter iOS app is really terrible.
Yeah.
I've written messages and they've just disappeared.
Yeah.
From the transcript totally.
Yeah.
I've seen them on my phone or on the computer I used, and then somehow they're just not there.
Yeah.
It's like you never wrote anything. So if we could get a way to also export the Gitter data, that would be nice. It doesn't really need to be available everywhere. It could be in a channel there where everything is posted. Like if we can replay all of the chat from Gitter into one channel and just call that archive, and then so you can't really see the screen, but there is a search bar right at the top right. That one can be really valuable at some point, to just for historical discussions. Yeah. Just to look back on what were people thinking back in 2017.
Do you have any idea how Discord works with integrations and bots? Like, could we have a channel for commits or changes that automatically, where we have some sort of GitHub plugin that posts when we do commit and pull requests? And
yes, you can do
that would be cool to say. So I think the move will probably be successful if at least both of us, and probably Eric and a few others, actively start using it, even to the degree that we just make sure to keep the chat going there, even if there aren't particularly important topics. Even if you don't wonder about anything, just say hi every day.
Yes.
Ask if there's some.
I definitely know about a bunch of approaches we can do.
Yeah.
We did similar things, and I've seen the Sanity people do really good stuff in their Slack channel. So the way they make people feel welcome in the community. So there's definitely things we can do there.
Yeah.
And if you see, there is also some default stuff in the welcome, but I think it's possible to do that even better.
Yeah.
But with regards to the bots, it's really good. You can find bots for everything, and you can make your own bots fairly easily. Like I added Zapier stuff before it got really expensive, and also GitHub bots.
Yeah.
And it's also easy to set up with the tokens and everything. And if you want, you can, as mentioned, create your own bots.
Yeah. So do you think you could deal with adding the GitHub bot?
I can do that, add bots.
Because we had that on Gitter, but after we moved from my private repository, my personal account, to the organization account on GitHub, it stopped syncing, obviously, because we're still talking on the old zombie/Imba thing on Gitter.
Yeah.
So that will be a welcome change if we get that to work well in Discord.
Yeah. I can do those things.
Yeah.
And if I come up with something else related to that, at least it would be nice to get the migration, find the pathway, even though it means creating our own bot, which just goes through all of the history and posts a message where X wrote at time stamp, and here's the message.
Yeah. And I do think so we landed on moving to Discord then, I guess.
Yeah, it's not my preferred tool, but I think it's really nice. And if you compare it to Gitter, it's like worlds apart. Gitter, I don't understand why people are still using Gitter, because it doesn't work. If you look at the chat, even scrolling, there's stuff is missing there, and it's lagging behind, and so Telegram would be a really nice tool, but Discord is good second choice.
And it's a good thing that you can do the voice and screen sharing stuff as well. That's a really big benefit in these cases, I think.
Yeah, cool. So next topic, documentation. I was thinking about the Telegram documentation. I have to show you that later. It's actually funny how they have set up with the bots. Gitbook is problematic because of the way it does syncing. So it doesn't work. Renaming and regrouping stuff is broken. I reported that to support after mentioning it in the Gitter chat.
Yeah.
And I got an answer. So they elevated the issue to the engineering team.
Yeah.
So because I was thinking, if you're using a tool, you need to develop some trust with the tool. And if it doesn't work, or if stuff gets, imagine you're using Google Drive and it puts files in random directories, or just moves them. So I'm waiting for that answer, but I think we should definitely assume that we're not using Gitbook.
Yeah,
and move away from it. And maybe we should go back to Imba.io for now.
Yeah.
And rediscuss if we're gonna update that or totally wipe it out.
Yeah.
We should use the repository, because then we can leverage the GitHub Actions and don't need to set that up again. But I'm not sure about everything else. So the other files, which are the other documentation that's possibly developer related, I think we could move those either to the repository itself in Markdown files. And if it turns out that that's too much noise, we could also just put them as a separate repository in the wiki, /wiki. And I think what would be nice there is to have developer-specific documentation, not user, definitely distinguish it. So here is, I want to do a release, or I'm interested about this part in Imba, and it's actually documented in the wiki, and you can read about it.
Yeah.
So does that make any sense, or?
Yeah, I think But I guess most of the reorganization is already done now in Gitbook. So still using it for a while just to start populating the
No, we can use it for a while. What I don't know is how it works with GitHub, because I've tried making changes in GitHub and I totally saw that it didn't seem like they were affected in the UI. But I could read the manual on Gitbook and then figure out their format. They probably have some kind of file which summarizes what's on the sidebar, and then start making the changes there. Yeah, we can do that, because then we are still focusing on the content, and then later we'll just move it back. And I think also we can fix or make the old stuff visible again, at least the stuff that's not. Yeah, I can do that. That's fine. But it feels like we're not really getting any gain from Gitbook, to be honest.
Yeah.
So likely moving away from Gitbook. And what was the other stuff? I totally forgot. What was the
rolling our own thing?
No, it was Git. That was the documentation. What was the other parts? We talked about some things.
The other parts of
yeah, it was Gitbook and then something else.
Wasn't it just Gitbook and Imba, whether to just continue using Imba for the documentation?
Yeah, maybe there was something else. I totally forgot. Yeah, I'll have to come up. Yeah, I don't remember. It was something I wanted to say about that. But yeah, so that we'll still use Gitbook for the setup. And I was thinking also to start, hopefully if there's no issues with Gitbook, just focus on the actual content, so I can go from start to finish, and then make the first pass, and then I'll get you to look at it. And I'll try to make it so that the documentation is actually usable for Eric, so he doesn't have to complain. But after you look at it, then I will do it again. And then I think at the final reread, I'll actually get the printer to print out everything for me so I can take a final pass. But I think that's going to increase the speed, like on how long it's going to take to get the documentation out. Yeah. Or a first early version. So it's also examples. So maybe we could, do you have Git Speak Up?
Yeah.
Do you want to take over the screen?
Let's see. Then you need to stop sharing the screen.
Stop. There.
2.
So
am I sharing now? Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just drop the Imba repository and search for examples. Examples? Is it maybe just example?
What was the name of the?
I thought it was just example something.
Okay. I can't find it here, but you know.
Oh yeah, I think I know what it is. So it's probably in a different repository.
Is it the show compiled output for examples? No.
No. Yeah, I don't know where it was, but basically the point was that there were more examples. I was thinking, what do you think about, we could try to add a Firebase example, see how that works. I think there are enough components, they're not UI components, but components as in the sense, there's enough things there that you're actually going to experience a real app, or Most of the things you would experience with the real app, you're going to experience the tooling stuff with the Firebase CLI. You're going to have...
Do you think Firebase or Firestore? Not sure how far Firestore has come, but I thought that was essentially like the new version of Firebase, or has it just not gotten that much traction?
Wait, I think there's a difference between the two. I think Firestore is a storage solution.
No, Firestore is kind of the new...
Yeah, but you can pick something else too. Like, so yeah, that's what I was thinking. Cloud. Yeah, so that's the server part. So if you're using Firestore, you are actually using Firebase.
Are you? Then they've changed up a lot of things in the last, because I guess it's more than a year ago since I played with it, but Firestore was initially like the next version of Firebase developed by the same team that had a lot of underlying architectural changes, so it just launched under a different name essentially.
Yeah,
but maybe.
But when you're creating now I'm just thinking back, if you're creating a Firebase app, you can pick if you want to use Firestore or something else. I don't remember what the something else was. So I was under the impression that the Firebase thing that's your app. Okay. And then you can start picking parts. Then you can start using analytics, start using a storage system, and then.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the impression I got, but I think we should definitely try to look into that. So we have tried that out, but we still actually do have enough of opportunities to use Imba 2 in internal code bases. Yeah. So I'm hoping to ask about require later today, or I can get back to that with the server-side rendering.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I'm doing now. I just started porting one of our internal projects to Imba 2, and it does take time. It's not a straight up migration. It's more of a kind of how would I structure this in Imba 2, and also cleaned up at the same time. And there are still quite a few questions arising. How do you do this and that concept in Imba 2 as opposed to Imba 1? And it takes some time, and it also makes me wonder about various parts of the syntax as well. So I just need to make sure that it doesn't become a huge rabbit hole where I end up changing syntax and experimenting too much. But it's also really valuable to make sure the language makes sense and works well for actual usage.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be hard for some, or it's hard to communicate to people that we're still developing and that it's actually ready for use, because I think Imba 2 is actually, if you're making static websites or you have some dynamic parts, but basically you don't have really any routing. You have just one page which is contained. You're making external requests, and that's it. And I think Imba 2 is like more than enough. You can do lots of stuff, but as soon as you have a bigger app, it just starts breaking down. Yeah. But I don't know, maybe it is good to stay in development for a couple of years and then release Imba 2 in 2022 or 2023.
Or at least stay in development for a couple of months. Like actually manage to get something out the door that is using Imba 2 in a significant way. So I think that's, as long as we keep improving the documentation and direct new users to Imba 2 instead of Imba 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I think we should still spend some time trying to we should obviously try to land some of the larger concepts pretty soon. Like the question, do we have implicit self or not? Basic things like that.
Yeah, and I definitely think.
And even that, I'm just alternating every other day what I actually think.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Implicit self. Yeah. So, but just to stay on track, because I have some stuff I wanted to ask about later too. Yeah. So the VS Code integration, I've tried using VS Code more. And I mean, for almost everything that's Imba related, except Imba, the Imba repository, where I just fire up MacVim and everything works. But for everything else, it's been, I really like that you can actually write stuff and then you get sensible auto-completion. And it's working.
But it is still, so that's one of the things also that the project I am trying to port. So I'm trying to now abstract or pull out the storage layer from GitSpeak and Scrimba. So Scrimba is a really early version of the same storage layer. Trying to move that out of GitSpeak, making it a little more general and just better documented and cleaner. And the plan is to open source that as probably kind of the official storage data layer for Imba. And I'm doing this obviously in Imba 2, and I'm also doing everything inside of VS Code. So just to make sure the tooling gets better, I'm forcing myself to always use VS Code for that development. And I'm still having a lot of problems with sketchy and weird autocompletion and things that, like typing inference that doesn't really work the way I want to, but it's becoming more usable. So I think it's not far from being good enough for us to at least release it as a extension and then do rapid releases afterwards. But yeah, there are quite a few things missing. And I obviously want really good type inference and good autocompletion, especially for tags and also for the storage layer. That would be really nice to automatically be able to say that, hey, this kind of model takes this kind of tag, takes this kind of data, and make that all work transparently. But it is tricky with circular dependencies, and there are a lot of cases that will take some time to sort out, I think. But the most important thing is I'm not comfortable with just, again, releasing this very soon as a final thing when I'm still at the point where I can't really use it for big complex applications without stumbling upon major issues along the way. I do think we need to, it is a really important test to both make this storage data layer, but also to make Imba IO and a few other things probably in Imba 2. To make sure it passes the test of being actually usable, like at least being actually useful. I'm not sure what your thoughts on that are, but
it makes sense. I think it's usable, but is it useful for big apps? Definitely no. It's just too many problems.
And I think that's one of the major pitfalls of most fringe languages that many people, I think, guess Imba is. Like they think Imba is kind of an obscure experiment language that you can just play around with, but that it breaks down whenever you want to do something complex. So I don't want to fall into that trap with Imba 2, because Imba 1, even if it's rough around the edges and the documentation isn't too good, it is actually production ready in the sense that it has been used for large applications, and it has worked quite well, at least. And it's very important for me that Imba 2 is the same way. I don't want it to be like, oh, this looks nice in 3 playgrounds, but no one has ever made a large app with it. So
I think it's fine. Like just to wait. But I think it's good. We are also redirecting people to Imba 2. We should definitely figure out a better way to say that on imba.io. So that, hey, this is Imba 1 and actual development is going on Imba 2. If you're ready for the brave new world, go here. And if not, here's the remain here and then use this.
And I think I will be much more comfortable starting pushing it when we have at least nailed down the syntax, like the basic, how should fields be declared, how should decorators be declared. Because when these things are still up in the air, it feels very, like implicit self versus not. These things must be, it should be high on our list to try to land these concepts. But the problem with it that I have experienced now starting to use it is that it is difficult to land in a sensible way without actually trying to use it for something real. Because it's easy to think, like sketch out something and say, hey, that looks nice, but then in another real world example, it looks really horrible. So I've started just to ponder on the syntax and things like implicit self. I've really started to just go through the code base of Scrimba and GitSpeak, look into the different concepts that has naturally emerged there, look at some of the custom tags we've created, and then move them over to Imba 2 and just try to create like 5 different versions of the same file using implicit self, not using implicit self, with slightly different ways of defining the fields and just getting a feel for it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. So like one thing that I was interested in, because I was kind of worried that I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Initially, I was worried that, okay, maybe when will we actually start using Imba 2?
Yeah.
Like now it's still, because we were talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And nothing was really visible because you were working on it on your machine. So now it is available, and it's like, when are we going to start using this in Scrimba and GitSpeak? So I've tried using Imba 2 on some things, and I'm going to ask about it later.
Yeah.
So I think it would be nice to just get Imba 2 code into either GitSpeak or Scrimba as early as possible, because then we can attack a couple of problems. Like first one is the -- migrating. I tried it. It was working for some cases, but mostly broken.
Yeah.
Like really broken. And it's not necessarily bridging, but like you have Imba 1 and Imba 2 code living next to each other. And also the relationship between Webpack and Rollup, and how is that going to be handled in the real world? Because I think it's good that we're picking defaults, but I also think it's good to be honest. People are actually using Webpack, and what kind of we are using Webpack basically. Yeah. So what kind of answer do we have for, I'm not using Rollup today, and I want to start moving this code base over, or I want to start using Imba here. How can I use it?
Yeah.
Without having to learn all of the Webpack stuff and so on.
Yeah.
So I think it would be cool to just get more Imba v2 code in. Definitely Scrimba. I think it would be the best, because Scrimba has real traffic, real users, and I think it would be great to get it on like isolated components or isolated things where we could try it out, and then if the experiment fails, we will run git revert and it's gone.
Yeah.
But then we need to figure out, okay, how are you supposed to use Imba 2 with a Webpack project? Like, what is normal? And I tried rewriting not rewriting, it's basically minor syntax changes, and then deleting the Webpack config, and then adding the rollup config, and just getting the names right and everything.
Yeah.
So it seems like for a small project, it's very easy to go to rollup, but I don't think it's so easy for bigger projects where maybe you have custom Webpack plugins that are doing some specific things.
Yeah.
So more Imba 2 in Scrimba, definitely. I think that would be a good idea. I think it's great that you're focusing on some heavy code topics like the data store.
Yeah.
But I think it would also be good to just get in some user-facing code, like something you can actually see on screen.
Yeah.
Because I think that then we can also easier tell people how it is to add Scrimba is a legacy code base, like everything you've written and then, which is in the past, is legacy. Yep. So then we would have introduced Imba 2 to a legacy code base.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we're going to experience all of these issues. So I'm really looking forward to getting some Imba 2 code out in production.
Yep.
Regardless of has Imba 2 been released or not. Mm-hmm. And I think the earlier we get it out, the better.
Yeah.
Because the colon and the period syntax, it's the big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else do you have on the VS Code integration?
I guess I don't have much else now.
Have you talked about the versioning?
Versioning?
Yeah, so maybe we should publish this VS Code extension as Imba, because the current one is Scrimba Imba, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a way we can distinguish between the two versions.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if there's some way to say this is free in...
Yeah, that would be smart. And then just actually try to launch it pretty soon, just so people can at least try to use it.
And start reporting issues and start fixing stuff. Yeah, so the next topic is server-side rendering. So I tried using Imba 2 in Scrimba thing, and it seemed to be working, but I had some issues with the require stuff. And I think I am confident you have explained this multiple times, but like I can't remember everything you say, so you have to be patient here. But like the way the requires are being overwritten for the Imba files look definitely weird. They've changed between Imba 2 and Imba 1.
The way,
like if I'm importing something from an Imba file, it's not being imported the same way as Imba 1.
No, the syntax has changed to work like ES6.
Okay.
So if you're not importing the default, then you have to use brackets around the things you're importing.
Yeah, so that was one of the issues, and I think I figured that out after a while.
Yeah.
You probably said it, I forgot it.
Maybe. Yeah, so I think it's probably the right choice to move to the same syntax as ES6. At the same time, my personal opinion is that the whole default exporting and importing is just a broken concept. I think it's really weird that you export something as default, and then you will always have to remember kind of, is this thing exported as the default, or is it exported as the real name, or so.
Yeah, so it would be nice if the migration tool actually handled that case. Are we seeing your screen? Let me see. Can you switch to the previous, that one? The one behind the Safari window. So yeah, it's visible. So yeah, this was also weird. The length stuff. Wrote that.
Yeah, but as I replied today, I think this is an issue where you probably have some weird characters or something in the code. Yes. At least there is some.
But this is from Imba code, nice Scrimba code.
Okay, at least there is some part of that code where the locations are just not being tracked correctly by the lexer. So when I ask afterwards, when you go through the tokens and say, okay, so this is where that length token is, the location, at least from what I can see, it seems like the location is probably just wrong. And then it ends up inserting and replacing at the wrong locations in the file. And then everything looks really weird because things are offset by one. And
yeah, I see.
I'm not sure if that is
So that might be an Imba 1 bug.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but,
cool.
but the problem is this type of migration, at least the tool that I initially wrote, is not really, it's essentially not doing anything. It's doing something, but mostly not doing anything semantic. It's more a really dumb thing, trying to make something. Yeah, it's essentially
results equals result replace.
Yeah. So if we want an actual good tool for migrating, we need to put a lot more effort into it.
Okay.
to actually analyze the code and
yeah, I'm not saying that we necessarily need a tool like this.
Yeah.
Maybe I did say that earlier, but I wanted a tool like this. But I would be more interested in then that the VS Code tool has a better understanding for a lot of these kinds of errors, and then you can just click fix in place like you can do in Xcode.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be there. It could be in the VS Code integration thing. That's one of the benefits of using it. You can easily migrate Imba one code to 2. But I think that's also fine. Like if we can get a list of everything that's this is things you have to handle, like a migration checklist.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get some notes, so hopefully I can take those out and put them into the documentation. So I don't know, like if it's too much work, maybe this is not worth it.
If and when we are going to start migrating the really big parts of Scrimba, do you think we need something for it? Like it will be way too much work to start to manually migrate everything, essentially. But yeah, we probably need a better approach, especially for the whole concept of properties and instance variables. Like we need a more thorough way to convert the code that makes sense. So I did think about it this weekend, and just as an example, I do think we need to, whenever we see instance variables in Imba 1 code that we want to migrate, we probably want to just replace them with the native, like the underscored accessors or with the $ in front or something. And then we convert the prop definitions to just getters and setters for those instance variables. And the main problem is that we need to make decent guesses as to whether something is supposed to be a prop, like a getter or a setter, instead of a method. Because that's the main problem with migrating, that in Imba 1, everything is a method. And when you want to migrate that code, it's difficult to know whether something is supposed to be a method or in Imba 2 is supposed to be just a plain property on the object. But yeah, that's probably a discussion for another time, or something we can at least discuss.
Yeah, so
two of us.
So it's not so easy to see, even though the parts I was looking at were like this very small part, very self-contained.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, okay, I can't really see because there's so much code, like there's more than a couple of 100 lines, and then it gets like these small subtle things. So I think I actually have to read all of the code, from start to finish, just to sanity check absolutely every single line.
I think you will definitely need to do that, and I think you will probably need to do that anyway, even if we have a much better migration tool, because there are some semantic differences that can't really be converted, at least not guaranteed to work the way you want it to work.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that if we convert things and then the VS Code tooling is working well, then you will be able to just step through a lot of the problems, at least the real problems, like this is not a function, but you're trying to call it. And so that will be better.
Yeah, so then I think that's what I'm going to do. But I think the server-side rendering seems to be working, so I think that was a great work.
Yeah.
That's going to make some things easier with regards to node deployment.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Next topic is so I told you about my running ambitions earlier.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe for me, so I could restitute more.
Yeah.
Maybe it would make sense to move the bi-weekly meetings. I don't know how it is for you.
Yeah, that's perfect for me as well. So, I think the reason we had it at 7 a.m. originally was because Udofir and some other people might show up.
So the only two things I have which are like I can't change those times is Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So those are actually from earlier than that, 4 p.m. maybe. That's very hard. So
yeah, but I think 8 a.m. or maybe 9 a.m.
that works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be perfect for me. So I can recover better.
Yeah.
Nice. So is there anything else? I think maybe I have one more topic, but do you have anything else?
No, I don't think so.
So I was thinking about the timeline now. So one thing that people keep asking about, or two people have asked about so far, and I've seen others, I think, is the like the roadmap on Imba. And I don't think we really have a roadmap. I think the best thing people can use is these community meetings and the changelog.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really we can't really predict the future. We really have no idea what we're doing. Or maybe you have more of an idea.
So I have an idea, but there are still experimentation going on, and I have limited time these days. So it is difficult to, I don't have a good experience with just setting deadlines that are impossible to meet. And setting deadlines and specific dates for when things will be finished when I can't really truthfully say that I know, and then people will just be disappointed and when things doesn't match that.
Yeah.
So right now, until we are moved in the next phase where it's more like now we're just going to document these things and polish it kind of. Until we are in that phase, it is difficult to give a specific timeline.
That's definitely understandable. I think it's it's an honest answer on that topic. So if you are curious about the progress, you just have to check in to the meetings and listen to the whole episode. Yeah. So I think we can wrap up. Thanks.
Cool. See you in 2 weeks.